Mr. President.
Senator from Idaho.
Mr. President, I also am honored and very appreciative of the opportunity to join this bipartisan group who is speaking to the nation tonight about the fact that we cannot any longer delay dealing with the most significant threat our nation faces, our debt and our fiscal difficulties. I was one of the members of the President's Commission on Fiscal Responsibility and Reform and had the opportunity over the past year to work on a bipartisan basis with people on that commission who took testimony from experts, evaluated the issues, studied the economies of the world, studied the details of what was happening in the American economy, and came forward with a plan. This plan got 11 of the 18 votes on that commission. It was required by the President's order to get 14 of the 18 votes in order to force that plan to Congress for a vote. And I was disappointed that that didn't happen. But let me make a couple of points of clarification. 11 of the 18 votes represents over 60% of the votes of the commissioners on that commission. That's enough votes to pass any bill in this Senate. It's enough votes to pass any bill in the House of Representatives and to get that bill to the desk of the President. 14 of 18 would have been over 77% of the votes, a margin that has rarely been met in this Congress. My point in making this clarification is to say that on a bipartisan basis, we were able to come up with a supermajority of support on the Commission for a plan. Now, did that plan contain everything that I wanted and leave nothing out that I didn't like? No. There were parts of that plan that caused me great heartburn. But that plan did put America on a path toward a balanced budget. It stopped the erosion. No, in fact, it stopped the explosion of our debt across this country. And it did so in a way that focused on the right elements. What were those? Spending and tax reform. Many of us were worried at the outset that the Commission would focus on just trying to solve the problem with more tax increases and tell the American people that our spending habits here in Congress were too important to be dealt with and we simply have to increase your taxes in order to keep Congress spending at its breakneck rate. The Commission denied that fact and said the reality is the problem in Congress is they spend too much. And it put spending caps on discretionary spending and started, at least, not as much as I thought it should do, but at least started the debate about how to deal with our entitlements. And one very important addition, it proposed a major reform of our tax code, probably the most sweeping tax reform that I've seen in my lifetime. If you were to try to come up with a tax code that is more unfair, more complex, more costly to comply with, and more anti-competitive to Americans seeking to do business in the world, you probably couldn't do much worse than we've done with our tax code. And one of the most important parts of dealing with our fiscal policy is to reform that tax code. And so that's another reason I'm so glad to see that we have bipartisan support for that kind of reform. I would simply say as I close that I am heartened by the fact that we see Republicans and Democrats alike saying the time for further inaction is gone. The time for gridlock is gone. We do not have time to continue the kind of gridlock debate that we have seen over the years here in Congress as we deal with this issue. And it's my hope that in the near future, we will force process reforms in this Congress that will put votes on the difficult issues that we must face as Americans before us. And with that, Mr. President, I yield my time and yield the floor to the senator from North Carolina.